Good day. I will be presenting about designing an effective incentive-based system for the sales team, which will be a requirement for the course MBA 901, which is the Human Resource Management. As a summary, our objective is to design an incentive-based system that motivates a mid-size sales team to achieve a 20% revenue growth rate while reinforcing company values of customer service excellence, teamwork, and ethical selling. As a summary, I recommend to adopt a blended pay model, which would be base salary plus variable pay that would be inclusive of the individual commissions, team retention or collaboration bonus, and other bonuses that will be stated later. So we will have an annual incentive budget of 360,000 pesos, which would be 6% of revenue target. Allocation would be 70% of the individual commissions, 20% of the 360,000 pesos would be for the team bonuses, and 10% would be for the qualitative bonuses. It will be a tiered commission rate. It will also have a quarterly team retention pools, qualitative payouts, and clawback provisions for cancellations or churn. There will be a implementation tracking for it to be effective. We will have to evaluate it on a quarterly basis, which will also be adjusted based on after study reviews, and also it would be based on current quotas and implemented guardrails. Guardrails meaning after which this incentive pay would be reviewed, it will be adjusted accordingly as to how the sales team would perform after they have implemented their own ways of achieving that quota. And of course, at the end of it all, they would have their respective incentives. So as an introduction, the company is modeled as a mid-size firm and with a subscription revenue and professional services. The sales team comprises of 8 full-time staff, and it has a current annual revenue of 5 million pesos, which after we implemented the new incentive system, we expect a target growth of 20%. So we expect a 6 million projected annual revenue. So there is a need to meet growth objectives while improving customer retention and ensuring ethical selling. An incentive plan must align individual behavior with organizational goals and values, provide transparent rules, and mitigate unintended behaviors. which would be the excessive discounting, misrepresentation, or shorter term. That is the reason why we have to evaluate, and also we have to review after a certain period whether or not the incentive pay system is effective, and we will adjust accordingly after that. So the scope is, this report covers analysis of goals and research on best practices, detailed design of the incentive pay system, implementation steps, and performance tracking, evaluation plan, and sample templates. So analysis. So the baseline targets, or the current baseline targets, is current revenue is at 5 million annually, which we expect a target growth of 20%, which would be an increase of 1 million, totaling 6 million. So the sales team at 8 members, average deal value would be at 150,000. The sales cycle is 60 to 90 days, and base salary pool is at 1.2 million. Incentive budget would be 6% of the target revenue, which is 360,000 annually. So this 360,000 pesos annually will be divided into tiered, and also, as mentioned before, it will have a corresponding rate. And the KPI, or the key performance indicators, would be: number 1, new bookings; number 2, quota attainment; 3, number of closed deals and conversion rate; number 4, customer retention; 5, customer satisfaction; average deal size; and last is cross-sell or referrals and internal collaboration measures. Again, this would be based on current values, and it must not, these key performance indicators must not be in conflict with the company's mission vision, as also it has to maintain an ethical way of assuming that we are following an ethical way of marketing or reaching a quota. So these key performance indicators assumes that there will be no illegal acquisition of deals or under the table dealings, as stated above. We try to avoid, and we have to avoid, deals that are against company policy. So the risk is, number 1, overemphasis on short-term bookings. Number 2 is poor quota calibration, may demotivate and encourage people or employees from discount or misreporting. As I have mentioned above, this is prone to giving certain possible customers, more of what the company can give in terms of discounts, and these employees, since the incentives are very appealing, it can also be prone to abuse, and it can also lead into more unethical practices, which would put the company in a bad position. So that's why there has to be a tracking, and also there has to be a constant reevaluation and calibration. Probably we can do it in a quarterly basis. I believe this report has an assumption of it having a recalibration and evaluation in a quarterly basis. So the best practices and trends are: number one, compensation mix. So it can be base salary plus variable pay. That's actually one of the industry standard. It ensures stability and motivation. So an employee can perform, and if the employee outperforms a certain employee, then there is a certain variable pay. So variable pay typically represents 20 to 40% of on-target earnings, depending on role and market. So again, it is tiered. Next is commission structure. So again, it is, as I mentioned, it's a tiered commission rate reward of to to prevent overachievement. So it also prevents an employee from achieving more than what is being set. That's at 360,000 of the annual earnings. We have to make sure that there would the quota or the incentive would suffice that 360,000 budget. So commission and guardrails. So we have clawback provisions and holdback periods to protect the company against early cancellation. So again, there are employees who are after the quota, but then again, this new customers might cancel. So we have to make sure that as we close deals, there has to be an assurance that these new customers has that ability to really follow through the deal. And it's not just about closing the deal after signature, but we have to make sure that these new customers that these employees will bring in will have to really stay and do business with the company. So to address that, there has to be clear written policies, payout examples, dispute resolutions, and of course, it always has to be transparent to reduce or eliminate. We might not really eliminate 100% conflicts, but at least minimize or reduce. So the tools is we are using the CRM integrated dashboard, monthly pipeline reviews, and quarterly payouts as recommended to balance frequency and administrative load. So this is just a way of streamlining the payment system, the incentive payment system, for us to be more effective and efficient. As these employees bring in new customers, we have to make sure that there is an infrastructure that supports this new incentive pay system. So we will now go for the compensation structure. No? So base salary is unchanged. It has to be market competitive. For us to retain these employees, we have to make sure that the current base salary is at par with the current market competitive rate. And variable pay will be composed of individual commissions on new bookings, team retention collaborative bonus, qualitative and ethic bonus, and allocation at 360,000 pesos. So the individual commissions on new bookings will be at 70% of the incentive budget. That would be 70% of the 360,000. 20% of that 360,000 is team retention or collaboration bonus, and 10% would be the ethics bonus. There has also to be an individual commissions at 252,000. So Team Bones pool is at 72,000 and the ethics pool is at 36,000. So we now go to the implementation. So the communication plan is we launch an announcement, email, and a one-page summary of the new incentive pay system. This would help the employees. This would help them for them to be informed and also for them to have a clear picture of the new incentive payment system. So there also has to have a town hall meeting, a manager one-on-one for a specific role of quota calibration. So since it's a tiered incentive pay system, each employee or each tier has its own specific quota calibration. And number three, it has for it to be effective, the communication plan is to distribute written policy and example payout scenarios and mandatory training on ethics and dispute process. So this is very important because as we implement a new incentive pay system, we have to make sure that when conflicts arise, these people or employees are capable and already retooled to handle certain dispute process and be mindful of all the the good practices, ethical standards that the company is always holding, and as much as possible to eliminate any illegal dealings and activities. So the timeline would be at the first week we'll have the budget sign off that would be on the first part or the first quarter. Second week would be the approve of document policies, drafts, and sample payouts. Number three is we try to launch it, or the system or the infrastructure has to launch, which we will cover dashboards and payroll integration. So this pay incentive pay system must be transparent in each employee's payroll. Number four is we conduct trainings and town hall meetings. Number on this on the second quarter or probably in the second month, whichever is, if the time permits, we can go live and if we can instantly have our first monthly tracking, and after that we will monitor and reevaluate if indeed the new incentive payment system is effective. So to close, we go to the evaluation review. So there has to be a quarterly and annual review. Of course, quarterly, since it would be having it on a quarterly basis, we'll have at least a clear picture or an average. On an average, we can clearly see how the incentive pay behaves and how the employees react to the new incentive pay system. And having it on a quarterly basis, we can fine tune it, so we can be very up to date. We would, though it's kind of, it will be a reactive because we try to reevaluate it, so we react accordingly, but we also have to a little bit be more proactive. So doing it on a quarterly basis will have adjustments. We can go reallocation budgets or tweak commission rates or revise quotas, whatever that is, that's gonna be beneficial to the company as a whole to achieve that 20% growth. Annual is, again, it is very important since we will have a new incentive payment system. Again, this is also to promote, this is a way for us to really evaluate whether that incentive payment system was effective or not. And also, we try to, we might be also in a proactive side to try to explore more on other incentive payment systems that would be more applicable and tailor fit to the company's goals, which is that 20%. So the success rate is we continue to we try to achieve the 20% growth. We try to minimize that retention or the churn, which would, again, it is prone to conflict as new customers might not ultimately deal with the company. So employees has to make sure that though they come up with new customers and they might reach or even exceed their quota, they have to make sure that these customers will follow through. And we continue to end this discussion. The make or break of the new incentive payment system, we have to make sure that the main drivers of this incentive payment systems are the employees. If we don't, if we lose our sight on how this human resource behave in a new implemented incentive payment system, we might lose sight of what's really happening on the ground. As much as we want to focus on the new incentive payment system, we have to make sure that the employees who are the engine and the driving force of the new incentive payment system, because the incentive payment system would not work if these people are not willing to work under the new incentive payment system. So we have to make sure that it is a two-way process. We try to listen to them, and in turn we react and we try to tweak it according to what's effective, because the main goal of having a 20% increase in annual revenue lies on the employee's ability to come up with new customers under the new implemented payment system. So that ends my discussion. Thank you.